fearless, curious soul. Goldilocks Productions presents The Deep Reading, connecting you to your soul show.
Hi, this is Suzanne Wyman, the Deep Psychic, connecting you to your soul. Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. Sorry about that. Please think about the commentary that you can relate to. I want you to feel included and know that if this conversation, this dialogue resonates to who and what you are, then you are part of something that is greater than yourself. The universe is connecting to you and answering your questions. Wow. I have to say that as good as I feel about 2020 and all the change is still difficult. Change is still complex. And so there's just been one series of changes after the next in my own personal life. And here I am sitting in beautiful downtown Dana Point, California. And truthfully, there's a really stiff breeze coming through my window, and it's downright cold outside in the shade. So I feel really fortunate, and I feel as if I'm doing my work as a psychic, and I'm working on doing deep readings that connect you to your soul so that you feel that you're part of something that the universe actually wants you to be doing. My first guest today is going to be a guest that is going to be talking about the astrology that is going on at the moment and how the astrology is creating so much change in the world. So let's bring on the astrologer and let's talk for a minute to the astrologer and see what insights we get out of looking at the astrology of the situation. Hey, how are you?
Hi there. I'm good. How are you?
Really good, thank you. I know you're working a lot, so I really appreciate you taking a break and having this conversation with me. So talk about the retrogrades that we're working our way through.
Well, there's been a lot since you and I have last talked, and you're always so nice to call me an astrologer, but I'm really just looking stuff up and learning as a student. So I don't know if I've reached that I haven't reached that progression to be given that title yet, but
you'd be surprised
definitely.
Some people that say that they are astrologers have not spent 10 minutes actually opening a book and reading any original material. So,
I give great deference to good astrologers, so I wouldn't take that title for myself, but I, keep up on what's going on astrologically, and it's been a while since you and I have talked, so we can talk about whatever. There's still retrogrades going on. There's gonna be a few that carry us through to next year. We've entered Leo season. There's some stuff going on with Mars. We're about to come up on the Lionsgate portal this Saturday, and then Venus goes out of Gemini and goes into Cancer tomorrow. So you tell me, where do you want to start? Because we could probably spend an hour talking about what's going on with astrology right now. So
let's start with I always like the season of the Lionsgate because it's powerful. It's the second fire sign in the rotation. The first fire sign is Aries. We start in fire, so we go through the first 4 elements, and then we come back to fire. And so it's kind of like we're through the first third, and we're entering into the second third of the astrology cycle. So it's a great place to start the conversation. Let's start there.
Okay. So the Lion's Gate is what I know to be the sun, the star Sirius, and the Earth are aligned. Is that right? And it's like an elevation of like high frequency energy that particularly activates the heart chakra and third eye chakra. So it's supposed to be like a day of spiritual growth and advancement. And we're supposed to be able to access like higher dimensions and have more access to our psychic abilities.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So in basically most religions and in most spiritual movements, fire is considered the great purifier. So that's the concept. Leo is very fiery. It's very intense, and it is the first time that the fire energy actually has like a purpose. You know, when we start out in Aries is just this it's just this person who's really good at starting things. Aries have a lot of difficulty finishing things. By the time the evolutionary cycle of the astrology moves into Leo, there's a higher purpose. There's more energy, there's better direction, it's more focused as far as an energy.
So, a good way that I remember that is Aries' ruling planet is Mars, right? So Mars is all about energy and just like forward movement. It's not always directed movement. It's just kind of that motivational energy. Whereas Leo's ruling planet is the sun, right? And so religions have been built around the sun.
Forever.
So sun, we really do identify with the sun and how it gives us life, how it, it's our star, right, that allows us to live here on this planet. So that for me makes what you're saying like a transition of like Aries is a fire sign, but it's kind of just at the beginning, whereas Leo is a little more elevated on the scale as far as astrology because it's got this maybe higher ruling planet, if we think about it.
Right, absolutely. So here's how I like to look at it. I like to look at it like when you come to that Stargate point and you talk about higher elevations and connecting to different dimensions. A lot of people don't spend a lot of time working in other dimensions or other realms, but I actually do dream interpretation from what is called a multi-dimensional state. But when you go into the Stargate, you actually go into that energy with the, as a spiritual warrior and make yourself completely available into the void. What you end up with is that you end up with the awareness of where you are in different places and times, and that energy focuses on you. So it's a great exercise. I think the number one thing is that I would say that a person should look at it like the spiritual warrior and just take the leap and go into it, because everything from the past to this year, that everything from our past and everything about this year is about taking and letting go of what doesn't work, what is false, what is an illusion, what doesn't work, what is just a waste of energy, and pushing us forward. And that's not always a graceful process because people want to know, if I do these things, how's it going to turn out? And that's not what life is about. Life is about the act of trust and faith and going forward. It really is just that simple.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I don't know a ton about Sirius, but I know that it's one of our brightest stars, and I guess it's identified as our spiritual sun, so it kind of illuminates our spiritual side. The easiest way, I guess, for me to remember it, because it is associated with this gateway, so the ancients believed that it was associated with this gateway to heaven and was a home of like souls that had passed on. And I grew up, reading the Harry Potter stories, and J.K. Rowling weaves that mythology into her story as Sirius is Harry Potter's godfather, right? So he's supposed to be this spiritual, guidance for Harry, and then his death, actually, he goes through this gateway, this portal, when he dies, which is where all the souls live. So it was really interesting to read about the astrological significance and the story, and then just it was interesting to see how she wove that in and kept those themes in her books.
Right.
And makes it easier for people to remember.
Right. So J.K. Rowling serves such a significant purpose because there's a lot of things that basically that were associated with mythology and astrology that people had forgotten or not really thought about in a new way. And so she brought all of that forward and basically influenced an entire generation. So interesting tie there, and I often had looked at her stuff and thought, wow, that's a really great way to interpret that and weave it into the story. So, yes, I agree. So, so this Stargate ties into Sirius. Is that what you're telling me?
Right. So the Lionsgate portal, it's usually between. So it's the strongest day is 8/8. It happens every year, right? So it's August 8th.
Right.
But we can usually start feeling it around the 5th, and it goes a couple days after. So it's Sirius lining up with the Earth and the Sun that create this portal. So, and it's supposed to be just, I mean, it's a lot about our spiritual side.
Okay.
Right. So, heart chakra, third eye chakra, psychic energy, getting, messages from spirit guides. You probably want to pay attention to your dreams on this day. And then, it's like a good day to kind of just, if you do like meditation or any of that sort of work, it might be an important day to like note a message that you receive when you're in some of those states, like dreaming or meditation.
Great. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. What's the next, where are we in the series of retrogrades? Where are we? I can't believe it's August. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So we're still, Jupiter's still in retrograde until September 13th, and that's in Capricorn. Saturn is in retrograde. It went from Capricorn into Aquarius, and we're still in that retrograde until September 28th.
Okay.
Pluto is still in retrograde in Capricorn until October 3rd. So those three planets have really been the theme of this year, and they station direct, from mid-September to the beginning of October. So October, we see a lot of activity. It's just because of those planets going direct, I think there's just going to be a lot of slower movement, right? Just because the planet goes direct, it's still kind of in what we call like that wobble phase. So
it's so funny. It's so funny because I did forget that Pluto was in retrograde, and Pluto being in retrograde mean that the same cycle would occur as far as people dying, but they would die in a way that was unexpected. I mean, we might have known they were sick, but we didn't know that their condition was going to take such a turn for the worse that they were going to die, or we might have known that people had difficulties, but we never expected them to die. And so that's kind of the outcome of Pluto being in retrograde, because the cycle of birth and death and being reborn is there, but it happens in an unexpected fashion because our thinking isn't there. We think, oh, I'm paying attention, I'm being conscious of what's going on around me. But then there's all of these unexpected deaths, and it just seems like, your life, there's been people that have died. You thought they were going to be okay, and they died unexpectedly. It's just been a very, very difficult year with the number of people that have died, and I forgot about the unexpected element.
Yeah, I think I was trying to think of if I knew anyone in my, close circle who wasn't connected, who didn't experience someone passing away in their life. And I really could only think of one person. Everybody I know has had some experience of losing someone that they loved. So, yeah, it's been a very, we refer to those Pluto retrogrades as clearing things away to give, there is no death without rebirth, but it's a difficult year. So, I mean, we're all feeling it, especially as we're more than halfway through the year now. I mean, we're I think a lot of people are looking forward to 2021 at this point. So, but it's all for the, these things are all for the good. So we still have 2 more retrogrades that are going to come up, and we do have Chiron currently in retrograde in Aries as well until December 15th.
Wow. That's really a difficult one because Chiron is the, is that right? Chiron. So
is the asteroid.
Right. And I guess I pronounced it wrong all this time.
I could be pronouncing it wrong.
No, I don't.
How do you say it?
I'm trying to think about that. As soon as you said it, it disappeared from my brain. But Chiron is the king of the centaurs, and Chiron is the process of where the complete and full potential of our animal nature crosses over into our spiritual nature, and that is the story of Chiron. And so to dream of Chiron, which is a half man, half centaur, is to have the hero's dream. Now, I personally, in all the readings that I've done, have only met one person that came to me, and I said to them, I saw that you had a dream and you saw a half horse and a half man. And he goes, yeah, what is that called? And so then I knew that he had a hero's journey, and he had signed up for the military. So that's the only time I've ever seen that. But mythology, I always think that's interesting, that mythology is not really, people don't learn it as much as they used to have to learn it. And so even though the symbology and the archetypal work will show up in their life, they still don't understand that they carry that information. So that, to me, is always sort of intriguing. But as King of the Centaurs, he brought music, poetry, healing, and what else? But anyway, that was his story. And Hercules dreams of him and goes on to his journey. And so the story that we're told about Chiron is tied to Hercules. And he has 11 feats that he's supposed to accomplish, and he accomplishes 7 of them. So there you go. That's the story of Chiron. So for Chiron to be in retrograde in Aries is kind of like you've got a great fire all stoked up, but nobody knows how to come to the fire and release what they don't need anymore and to get the benefit of the healing.
So I always understood Chiron to be like your kind of like where you need, like where you're a wounded healer, and because I guess the story is that he was known for his healing ability, but then he was killed by a poison arrow and couldn't hear himself.
Right.
So so it's kind of like where we need healing and things in our life, and if we're able to like heal those pieces and move forward. So it's interesting because it's in it's retrograding in Aries until December 15th. So does that mean there's kind of like that Aries like energy and motivation towards self-healing, or?
It's basically exactly what I said. Aries is the newborn child who, just says and does what it feels, without any thought about anything else. It's like, well, I'm finished with that, so I can just burn it up and let it go. But by having it in retrograde, that means that we don't get the full benefit of it. We get the slowed process, which I would say, with the cycle of healing and death that's involved here, we pretty much know if Chiron goes direct in Aries in December, we know that by then people will have had access to the vaccine, and the majority of the problem will have been handled. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing, because that's healing, bringing the healing to the earth, and because the centaur is half horse, it's the amount of energy and drive that's required. I mean, I find this really bizarre, but when you talk about NASA and they talk about, lifting off a spaceship, they still measure it in horsepower. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I think we've progressed past saying, something can be measured in horsepower, but No, that's our standard form of measure.
Yeah, so technology hasn't, I think there's just that common vernacular that we use. That's interesting. I never really thought about that. But yeah, and you associate like the horsepower with the like combination of man and horse in a centaur, and Chiron being the centaur that we're talking about right now.
Right. It's an important concept because Chinese astrology, of course, did the blessing of astrology. No matter what religion you come from, will always use the horse. I don't really exactly. I guess I understand that, but I never really thought, it's applied over and over again. But in Chinese astrology, which is the Buddhist concept, Randall is a horse, and a horse functions at the very best when it works regularly, and they can work long hours, and they have great health in order to work. So a working horse is valuable. It's a very valuable thing. So, it's just the energy and the movement, but it's definitely in the animal nature realm. And then by a centaur and a human coming together, I guess I would look at it and say that was like the understanding of what happens in our third chakra. Our third chakra places us at will, understanding, and pull my book out and take a look at that and make sure I say all of that correct. Oh yeah, it's wisdom, order, and strength. Wisdom, order, and strength. So you do have to have a deep understanding of what order gives you. You have to have understanding and you have to have strength. But that is a third chakra issue. And that's the last time that that's our final opportunity to really resolve our animal nature issues. So that's how come I see it as a third chakra issue.
Well, you always refer to third chakra as like how we assimilate information, and I think Chiron's position is understanding where our wounds can provide healing, right? So there's a nice quote by Rumi where the wound is where the light enters you, right? So where our wounds are is really illuminating for areas in our life that we need healing, and that allows us to progress. And so I think tying that into third chakra, you always talk about third chakra and fourth chakra being those brothers of thunder. Is that right? Assimilating the energy in our third chakra, which is over, your liver, solar plexus area, and then how we assimilate that information and give it out as love from our fourth chakra, right?
Right. And so what happens in the place of your third chakra that creates passion is what creates the inspiration in order to demonstrate. So you can't actually have inspiration in your heart if you have an unresolved third chakra. So I know that sounds really kind of absolute, but basically your liver operates as a giant, what do you call that?
You call it a satellite.
A giant satellite dish. Yeah, your liver operates as a giant satellite dish, pulling in fine-tuned pieces of information, and that is where you, I'm sorry about that, where you get your wisdom. So people always say that. They say, I felt it in my gut. I got that gut level feeling, or, people talk about their relationships. They go, it just felt like I got hit in my stomach. So that's the wisdom, that's the fine-tuned, subtle energy. But then it really does require strength to carry it out. But you do have to have a real understanding of order. What is the natural order of things in order to apply that? So the story of Chiron and the centaur coming into, going into retrograde, that really is, I think, probably of all the retrogrades. I mean, we've had different retrogrades, but that retrograde is probably the one that is causing, I don't want to say it's causing the most difficulty, but it going direct really frees our energy up.
Okay, so that'll be in December. So then we've also got So we've got Uranus retrograde coming up August 14th, and that goes to January 14th. And that Uranus is retrograde 5 months out of the year, so that one's one that we're kind of used to. We may not feel as intensely, but it is in Taurus. And then Mars, so this is the one I was kind of most interested today. Mars goes into retrograde in Aries on September 9th. And so Mars entered Aries on June 27th. And normally Mars only spends 6 weeks in a planet, in a sign. Uh-huh. But because of the retrograde that we're going to experience in September, Mars will stay in Aries until January 7th.
No way.
And that retrograde is from September 9th to November 13th. So Mars is in Aries currently. Mars goes retrograde in Aries from September 9th to November 13th. So okay. I've definitely felt the change in energy and motivation and, kind of a feeling of like restlessness and like a need to like just move forward and do it and just, not wait. So we do kind of have to watch those motivations and make sure we don't get burned out because Mars is going to be in Aries for a while. Right. We have to kind of watch our tempers, our levels of anger. Those usually lead, in my experience, to accidents or injuries, right? And our anger and resistance against authority, rules and restrictions, which, kind of ties us back into all that stuff that Jupiter and Saturn are experiencing, those retrogrades in Capricorn and Aquarius, right? So there is a lot of just shifts in energy, but it's kind of nice to feel, I don't know, I like Mars in Aries, but I'm also a fire sign, so maybe I feel that a little stronger. Or feel it, at a different level.
It's kind of an interesting thing because if there were to be a revolution, a war, or a mini sort of chaotic event, it would be very, very short term. It would burn itself out very quickly. But, that sort of influence does talk about that sort of chaotic eruption. And this is part of the process of, the old things, the old way of thinking and handling things now is gone and all finished, and now we're forced. If we don't want to do it gracefully and gently and go forward with it willingly, circumstances unfold where, it's forced upon people. And I think that's one of the things people kind of have to, whatever inspiration and motivation comes at this time, that's what we have to move through. So I'm going to take and I'm going to let you go back to your work. So wrap, bring us around, and give us your insight, and take 2 or 3 minutes and wrap that part up.
Yeah. So like I said, I like the Mars Aries energy. So it's about taking a stand in our independence and in our power. So it's about taking action and moving past our fears. So I think that's kind of a nice energy to just move forward as we get through the end of 2020. But also just to, be cautious with that energy. Make sure you're doing self-care, not burning out, and being aware of those rash actions, like we watch newborns take, and then they see the consequences later. So, just maybe not watching your impulses.
Okay. All right. Really good advice. And so some of these aspects, this is my final comment to you, have not shown up in centuries.
Yeah. Centuries, and then there's just a lot happening at once. We had that comet, which I think makes its appearance like every 2,800 years or something like. There's just a ton of stuff that we haven't seen in millennia, not like let alone centuries. Millennia, right? So This really is the birth of a new age. It's all these events leading up to the birth of a new age.
Wow. All right. Absolutely fabulous. Thank you, Katharina. Have a great day. And you've been really, really helpful. You got me to think really hard. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So I love astrology, and I think astrology and mythology are probably the least, in the generation under my daughter, I don't see anybody teaching, educating, and training the process of how the understanding of mythology, because that is the foundation of astrology, is mythology. When you understand mythology with great clarity, you translate that process into astrology. It's like everything. It has layers of knowledge and awareness and understanding. And it takes many, many years to absorb it. And Katharina always does this disclaimer, but I spent so much time and energy explaining mythology to her throughout her entire life that when she actually decided to study astrology, so many of the pieces just fit into it because then she understood the story behind it. So it's a great study. It's a great piece of understanding, and I think she does a really great job of it. So I've got another person coming on today. Let's see if she's here now and able to join me.
Hello.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Really good. So,
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping everything you're doing and joining me here today. And
Sure.
Okay,
Thanks
yeah,
for having me.
and put your mouthpiece of your telephone a little closer so I can hear you with great clarity.
I'll take you off of speakerphone. How's that? Is that better?
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So you told me that just talk about yourself. You said you had a great aha moment, and I'd love it if you could share that moment with us, and we can, because I haven't heard your aha. You said I had a great aha moment, so this is perfect.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like in the making for like so many years. I've been looking for this aha moment, and it came this morning, and I'm so excited because I just didn't think it was going to come, so I was really excited about it. But
let's do it.
I went on a trip out to Kansas to see my best friend, and she turned out to be, I don't even know how to interpret her actions other than I've just got to peacefully let her go. And so I drove 25 hours out to Kansas only to turn right around and drive right back to California. Uh-oh. And in the meantime, I have my puppy with me, and my puppy doesn't like traveling during the day. It's too hot. We've been spending a lot more time on the road than I thought. It's taken us like 3 weeks in travel, which has been 3 weeks alone, which is really necessary sometimes. And just, yeah, you don't take that much time alone ever.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's beautiful because you stop asking yourself questions, and this morning I finally, it led me to some understanding of like why I've attracted so many strange things in my life. And I feel like for the first time, I'm like a piece of myself has come back into me that I've been missing. I always thought I had like a curse or like a something on top of me, like that was just like laying on me and keeping me down. But I realized it's just a simple like thing, and it's so weird how small shifts can change your entire perspective, Okay. And so, my small shift came with my mother, of course, because it always comes from your roots somewhere, But I have questions for you, though, about something else, though, completely different. I have a past life that has been huge in my life, and I want to know if you know anything about how that past life comes into this life.
Mm-hmm. So, Katie, tell us your aha. I know it's a bit personal, but your aha moment. Well, tell us the
aha moment. It was the shift between realizing that, like, my entire life I felt like, I was a bad person for some reason. I do all these great things. I try to be, like, as wonderful of a friend and person as I can, like, do extra all the time. And I'm always doing extra. And I end up with bad relationships and bad friendships and bad everything. And I just, like, I felt completely crushed when my best friend, like, literally she hid in a closet when I got there. She asked me to come out. Like, I mean, she was all excited about me coming out. She hid in the closet when I got there, and I am so confused over what happened. But, like, in all that, it made me feel, like, completely alone in the world. And I kept thinking, why am I attracting these relationships? And how come, I mean, it's got to be me because I've got the man relationships and now even my female, like, my friend relationships. And then I watched a YouTube video. This guy was speaking about narcissism and this and that, and I tried to stay away from most of that kind of talk, but, like, he brought up the other side of it, which is the other person, and he talks about emotionally unavailable parents and the effect of being emotionally unavailable. And all of a sudden, it cleared up for me. It's not that I'm a bad kid or I was a bad person. It's my mom just was not able to provide certain things. And that's not, like, my fault. And just taking that blame off myself is like, whoosh. I feel like just, like, light and fluffy. I really do. I feel totally light and fluffy.
Okay.
I feel like I can, like, because it really lowers your self-worth when your parents don't even recognize you. Like, they kind of, like, they're never happy to see you. They seem like they're, like, you know, like, it's a very strange mechanical kind of, you know, she said, I love you. And I know that she meant it, you know, and she worked her butt off. She's a really, really hardworking woman. I appreciate and love her very much, you know, and I just never understood, like, why I have such low self-esteem and such low self-worth. And now I realize it's just, like, you need that, like, bond with your parents to, like, you know, just give you justification in the world when you're a kid. Because if you don't have that, you just, like, kind of, I don't know, you don't think, like, you're worthy of anything if you're not worthy of your parents', like, attention, you know? So, like, I've always thought, like, I've always had these relationships with these guys that do the same thing. And it, like, mirrored my family relationship so much, but I couldn't see how much until this morning. It just, like, was like, whoa. And the shift from me being responsible for all of that and me being, like, this bad kid that didn't deserve, like, all that care and, like, attention, affection, and, you know, connection, to being not my mom's fault, but not being anybody's real fault. You know, it's just who she is. I can accept that. I can accept who somebody is who they are, and, like, they've learned from other people who learned from other people, and that's acceptable. But learning that, like, feeling that weight, like, you're to blame for something is so weird. I just couldn't figure out, like, past life karma. Where was it coming from? Like, do I have a curse on me? And I always felt responsible, you know.
Right.
It feels good. Yeah.
Oh, good. Good for you.
Good.
So let me interact with that little piece of the dialogue, and thanks for sharing. Kind of a deeper story there. So, a lot of people have written and talked about what it means for a child to feel blessed by parental love. So to be wanted, needed, planned, accepted, and placed within your family gives an individual an enormous amount of spiritual strength. So, and good for you for seeing your mother, for being a hard worker, but basically she was just emotionally unavailable, unprepared, and unaware, unconscious of what it meant to honor a child. And a lot of people have these opinions that, you know, it's about a flaw in our system, and it's about poverty. But I've seen families that didn't have material wealth that had spiritual wealth, and they treat the child with respect, understanding, and they give placement for the child within the family, and they're focused on what the child needs in order to, emerge. And so it's not about money. We as Americans place a great deal of emphasis on that, and I honestly and truly don't feel as if money is the very first thing that a child needs. I think being wanted, loved, and being spiritually welcomed is the first piece. And then and then the other part of your story that is really, really interesting is because you didn't feel blessed by your parental love, and you didn't feel as if you, were brought into a family and welcomed, that you attract these people that treat you badly, which is really just a reflection of how you felt your family treated you. You felt as if your family treated you badly. And so it's kind of an interesting, as much time as I've spent working with people on this issue, I think that there's therapists and stuff that call it parental business or family of origins work. But basically what it comes down to is that when you don't love and care for your child in a way that makes them feel loved and understood and welcomed, then you create this dynamic where the child seeks out relationships where they're not welcomed, they're not loved, they're not respected, and they're not understood. So I think the most ideal situation, there's still going to be part of a child that is not really going to be completely fulfilled. I think there's always that problem. And I think part of that is self-growth, maturity, a lot of things. I think it's many things. But your story specifically says the following. Your story says that your mother did not bless you with her love, and you basically ended up feeling like a rejected person.
She did with love. It was with light that she didn't bless me with. She would even say to me, I love you. And that love felt obligational, but she didn't, but she would say sometimes, I love you all the time. Sometimes I don't like you. And I got the feeling like that was more true, than anything else.
No, that is just a form of abuse. That is just the wrong, horrible thing to say to a child.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of a woman who is not getting the sort of care, love, and nurturing in her own life.
Sorry, I'm in a hotel room, and I think that housekeeping is trying to come in and housekeep.
Okay. So the story is on that is that no, that's just not right. We don't, every mother in her life has a bad day with the children, but she never.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to tell your children you don't like them. You tell them I don't like how you're behaving. I don't like how you treat my neighbor. But you don't personalize it to them. So that made you feel unlikable.
Yeah, pretty much. And I've always tried to I've had these relationships that are the same thing, like these people in my life that don't know me. They never get to know me. They just tell me awful things about myself. And my mom I think she was picking up on her own traits, that she saw in me, and she would just the stories she told about me growing up, they were always these bad stories too. And I wasn't a bad kid. Even my sister said she was just an asshole to you. I don't know why. I know why. I get why now. But and I forgive all that. That's not even important.
Okay, so let me take you through a little process. Okay, we're gonna move quickly here in this conversation. So when a parent has the responsibility of children without any sort of a support system, the problem is that one of the children is going to be like the person that she had the child with, and the other child is going to be like themselves. So the mother who unconsciously, psychologically, emotionally, and many, many ways is abusive to the child that's not like them is basically acting out on the child their own hatred of themselves.
I know. That's so sad too.
Well, I mean, let's not put any terms on it, but let's take a look at that and see what that told you about your value. And what it told you about your value is that you as a person were not valuable. But once you break the mythology and you break the lie, and that is that she was not punishing you, she was punishing the part. She was punishing the part of you that was like her.
Right.
And then it becomes a very deep issue. So
then it's not. It's totally different. Totally.
Yeah, it's not about you.
It's a world of different. It really is. Taking that personal off of it is so big. It really is.
Okay. So, and I mean, it doesn't mean your mother's a bad person. It simply means she's an unconscious human being. But the problem is this. The problem is that you're never going to get her to be honest with you, self-revealing, and take responsibility, no matter how you
No, I don't even expect it, yeah. I don't even expect it, yeah. It's so weird. Having a friend who hid in the closet when I got there made me just accept people all of a sudden for what they are. They are what they are, and that's just what they are. I can't take that personal. I can't. Like, that's not me.
Well,
that's not.
It's a really difficult experience, and it's been a really time-consuming experience. But I have to say that if it brought you to the place of understanding that it didn't have anything to do with you, it had to do with them. And that basically the reason you attract these sort of people is because your mother didn't love and accept herself, and she put that on you. Then it gives you a different perspective. There's still a lot of pain in there, but at least there's something to work with.
I had the pain before. I understood all the steps of it. It was where the personal part of it, me taking it personal my whole life, and when it wasn't me, it's not even her, it's like what she was taught, and so I've forgiven her a long time ago for the way that she acted. I just didn't understand that it wasn't personal before, and that made all the difference. Yeah, that's my aha. It's so light. Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 41. Yeah.
Bad news here. Yeah. Really bad news here. You've gotten the great aha. You've gotten the great aha. Okay. And so now it unfolds, and then there's a new level of awareness. So some of the things that we experience, we don't have the maturity to really put it into perspective. Okay.
Mhm.
That's life. So now you have the awareness, and now you have the shift, and now you have the information. But
the shift, I like that word. Yeah,
the shift. You have the shift. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's wrap. Let me wrap this up because I'm going to go on to your next question. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The work, the real work, really begins now.
I feel that way. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I've got it on a piece of paper and a graph. I'm ready to go on it now. Now I know where to begin, at least,
Right.
Yeah. Where do I begin, though? Is the question.
If I remember right, you and I had a conversation, and I said that your mother had a relationship with somebody who was a narcissist. But when you ask her for this information, she's not going to ever give you any real information because she's too inside of herself. She knows she did the wrong thing by you, so she's never going to give you any information where she...
Oh, I don't think she did the wrong thing. She doesn't think she did the wrong thing by me. She thinks that she did...
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
She has
to. Let me finish. Okay? So here's the deal. When you go back to a parent and you say, look, did you have a relationship like this? The ego inside of the parent wants to look good, so they don't ever give you any more information where in some way they would look bad. They want to look good. So you tried to hash this problem out with your mother and try and figure it out. But that's one of the great problems that people face is that inside of themselves they know the answer, but when they go to the individual as an adult and ask them for the information, the person denies the information, and to me as a person, that is the greatest indication that they know they're wrong, because given the opportunity to tell the truth and to talk about what happened, maybe in a way that they don't look good, but at least they're honest about it, that to me indicates exactly the fact that they know exactly how wrong it is. Otherwise, why not just do it? So that becomes a problem all of its own. And once you realize that they're never going to be honest, they're never going to tell the truth, and they're never going to reveal anything that would assist you to creating clarity, then you sort of drop it. You just sort of drop it with them. But you don't go about fixing the relationship with them. You just don't. So this journey, this part of your journey now, is really trusting your own instincts and intuition. And I always say, and I love relationships, I got to tell you, I've been talking to people about their relationships children, husband, wife, mother, daughter, grandmother, great-granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the dynamics, cousins, everything, since 1982.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of energy for relationship. But I think that the evidence that we have that our parents had relationships and lived a certain way shows up in the people that we attract, and it shows up in the way our own life unfolds. So your story is your mother's story that she never resolved.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so okay, so I'm really happy for you, but yeah, and I'm really glad you have a sibling that has the perspective of telling you that your mother's just never really going to be kind to you.
Yeah, no, she's just not able to. Yeah.
Well,
that's okay though. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it's not okay. It is not okay. The thing that's okay is that you have a sibling that's honest with you and tells you, I don't know why, but and so I told you that.
That helped a lot too. And all the intuition helped too. Knowing some things that weren't told to me was really important, like all this weird womb stuff. Like I knew a lot of things about womb time that you shouldn't know, Yeah, you shouldn't remember that, but I just knew there were certain feelings that were resonating, and that was hard,
People do have full memory of what happened to them from the moment they choose to be in the process of conception. There's a spiritual
Gosh,
awareness.
I can't remember my first 25 years, but I remember the womb time. Isn't that funny?
No, it's great. It's really great.
Yeah.
But everybody remembers it. So, so I have a different theory on past lives, and that I don't interpret them for people. I ask them to do a regression where I take them through the memory and get them all of their information. They get their date, their time, their place, their name. And then with the people that I've done it with, people have been able to, do research, read about it, and look it up, and then sort of validate the process in their own terms.
That's so funny that you say that, because I've been looking for that valid, because I've gotten all the names and I got all that stuff, but I can't find the real data behind it, because it's very specific, and I remember very specific things, and I can't find that data, but all I can think is that maybe that's not able to be found because things were done differently back then, and so the written data on it might not be exact. So,
Katie, one of the most important things I'm going to tell you, if you don't remember anything else from this reading that I'm doing with you, hopefully you'll remember this one thing. That's not true. That it does exist. You just simply need somebody to guide you through the process. And your biggest thing is that you actually doubt the validity of your own experience. You don't.
Oh no, I know it happened. Happened.
Right. But you say maybe there's no verification because it was done differently. No, once you get the date and the time and you figure out how to research it, you'll find those pieces. That's the part where you stop doubting and you start trusting. Okay? So but I think there's some I don't do hypnosis. I do a guided regression, and that's a method that I believe in because I think you should get your own information. That's just So I've been taught how to do past life regressions from there's a lot of different ways. I mean, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of different ways. So, but you and I can have a conversation about that, and I can talk to you about how to get yourself started. My favorite thing to tell people to do to access a past life memory, and I did this, and it really takes true strength of character to do this, but I think that you're ready. And I asked that in my dream state that it be revealed to me a past life memory that was currently impacting my life. And then in the dream state, it's revealed to you, and it's amazing.
That makes sense.
Okay.
That's the universe.
So the part that you don't want to know or you don't want to remember or you can't cope with today, you'll forget. and the part that is valid and that you're willing to work with will be remembered. So, but Katie, talk to me for a second. Just we're going to wrap up. We've got a couple minutes here. Talk to me for a second.
You know, what's funny about that past life is that I had a specific elixir of emotions that I felt in this life about 15 years ago, and it was such a very, very strong emotion, and it was very strong, and I didn't know where this feeling came from. And then when I was regressed, I had the same exact. I mean, I saw where it came from, and it was like such a world of like eye-opening. I mean, it opened my eyes to like so many different things and made sense of so many things in this life. So I think a lot of times, like, our past lives hold just like a lot of our current, like, you know, the whole Akashic record, just holding on and to let it go kind of means digging in every now and then, you know, finding out more.
Right.
We take way too much responsibility for our weirdnesses and our problems, you know, when maybe it's just how it is, you know.
So here's one of the benefits why we encourage people in the concept of metaphysical and spiritual development to take responsibility, is because responsibility creates power, and power creates a sense of empowerment. So there's a lot of people that kind of get off. That's sort of a, you know, boy, that's an antiquated term. They kind of get off on being able to, you know, say, oh, that was my responsibility, and they're very super responsible. But the truth of the matter is that if you experienced it in your reality, you played a part in it. Now, what part you played in it, you know, varies just a bit. What I notice when I talk with you, Katie, is that I feel like I'm having trouble getting you to focus on my conversation. I mean, I know you're focused. I know you're hearing me, and I know you're present. But that's the feeling I get. I'm like, what is she paying attention to? So, because I'm tuning into your energy, and I'm trying to figure out, what are you paying attention to? So that's my question to you. Are you paying attention to what's going on in your inner dialogue, and you can't actually be present? Or
maybe this morning was just so different for me. I feel like my cells are realigning to like make a different person, and I'm just not maybe focusing anywhere. You know, I don't know. I've been waiting for change to happen for so long. I'm waiting for a change. I'm waiting for something to catalyze a change, and I'll gladly take part if I knew how to drop off the old me and figure out how to become this new person. But like, I feel like it's finally begun, and maybe it's definitely taking some. You know, you caught me at a very rare moment, a very weird moment. That's for sure. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
So it's not going to be. It's more subtle. It's funny. I was talking to somebody who had a spiritual awakening, and what has happened is that part. Okay. So that's my question to you, Katie. When you I'm talking and you're answering, and so I talked to a person yesterday. She had a spiritual awakening, and she kept thinking that she needed to remain in this spiritual awakening, and so you had an aha moment. You don't need any further explanation. Go back to what you're doing, and now you have this new piece of self-awareness. The story will explain itself. So here's the reason we know that you had a valid experience and why the universe has answered your question. Is because you have that experience, and then I call you.
Yeah.
So you don't need any more validation than that. And each piece that you need will now be brought to you. You don't. It's not a questioning kind of process. Now this is an action part within you.
Okay. Trust the journey. Trust the process, or trust the process.
So yeah, that's the same. It's the same question I have to you again. You know, when I'm talking to you, what's going on inside of yourself while we have this conversation? Because when I talk to you, I never get the feeling that I'm connecting to you.
I don't know. That could be part of my old self. I have no idea. No idea. Yeah.
Okay. So when I talk to you, what happens inside of yourself? What happens? Are you questioning yourself? Are you trying to make sense of it?
I'm just listening. Yeah, I'm listening. I try to absorb as much information as I can from people who know different things. Learning is good.
I know I put you on the spot there. Is there any element of doubt that enters into the conversation?
No, I feel more certain now than I ever have. I feel different than I ever have. I feel definitely like a different person.
Cool. I'm going to wrap up the show. You're welcome to call me. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah. It was great talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. The deep reading, connecting you to your soul. It is 12 noon Pacific time on Thursdays. Goldilocks Productions. This is Suzanne Wyman, 714-400-7384. And you're always welcome to contact me, thedeeppsychicreading@gmail.com. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Many blessings. Enjoy.
Become a Goldilocks Productions VIP patron. Receive exclusive access to live stream special and other epic perks. Join the Goldilocks Productions VIP community today.